Hello there, and welcome back to another Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. My name's Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and I'm super excited to be back hosting these daily challenges. But before I dive into things, a big hello to everyone joining me live here on Behance this morning, afternoon, evening, or even tomorrow if you're on the other side of the world. Big hello to Camila and Suyog and Ed and Sam and Lamont and Julia and Annie and Rick and Leonard. There's a ton of people in here. I don't know how many people. There's like several hundred people tuning in right now. There were almost 2,000 in the previous stream. So if you are tuning in live, let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and if you're brand new to Adobe XD, I'd love to know that as well. Felipe says, I see you playing Animal Crossing. I'm always playing Animal Crossing. These challenges are perfect if you're brand new to XD. A lot of people coming in. Vipin is here from India, and I believe, what day is today here? It's Tuesday here, so it's Wednesday over there. Crazy. Love the glasses. Yeah, I couldn't find my other ones, so I threw these ones on. They look fancy, don't they? Hey Alice, welcome. And if you're sticking around all day, definitely stick around for Alice's stream right after. Amazing illustrator. Go follow her on Twitter as well. She posts some great stuff. Yesterday's stream was fantastic. If you need some, just downtime, relax, go watch her right after me. And we've got Shan from Boston. We've got someone from New York and DC and Germany and Pasadena. I can't even keep up. Oregon, Berlin. Fun fact, I mispronounced Oregon yesterday. Good times. All right, so let's dive into things because we're gonna really spice things up today. We're gonna dive deep very quickly in this thing. And as I explained yesterday, this round of the Daily Creative Challenge is progressive. I love these progressive challenges. That way at the end of the 9 challenges, you've got a nice portfolio piece you can post on Behance, Twitter, your portfolio, wherever it might be. So to get the lowdown, head on over to behance.net/challenge/XD. You're gonna see this nice big blue button right at the top. If you haven't pressed it, go ahead and press it. That way you're notified when new challenges are released. We typically slide them in around 8 o'clock Pacific time every single morning. So how does this thing work? If you missed yesterday's intro stream, here's the rundown. Every single day, Monday to Friday, except the first Monday, confusing, isn't it? You're gonna receive a challenge. And then you can also join us in our Discord community chat, which I'm gonna hop over to right now. We've got about 45,000 designers in Discord. That's a lot of people, crazy. But you're all nice people, which is great. And a lot of you are already posting your challenge for today, which is amazing. We've got Suyog posting already, and Uzman. If I mispronounce anyone's name, I do apologize. We've got Annie and Subh. Again, I apologize. Chocolita. A lot of people are already diving in there, posting their work, which is great. If you have questions about XD, or if you just want to talk and maybe talk Animal Crossing, I don't know, you can definitely hop in Discord and have a good time. Hey, Richard, welcome. Great to see some familiar faces, also new faces as well. And Cornell is asking, can we rewatch that stream from yesterday? Absolutely. So it's actually on behance.net/live. Scroll down to the UI and UX section. You'll be able to see yesterday's intro stream there. Now, you can also watch me live, just like you're doing right now, or you can watch the replays later. I'm live around 2 o'clock Pacific time, Monday to Friday, and then you're going to share your work. So if you are posting in Discord, definitely pop it in the current challenge channel. That way myself and the moderators can go in there and check it out. Also, post it on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Challenge. And that was great before, but now it's even more important because if you hop over here, behance.net/galleries/challenges/XD. It's a mouthful, but someone will post it in the chat. You'll be able to bookmark it. And this is where we're going to be posting some of your work that you're participating in for the challenges from XD to Photoshop and Illustrator. And we're exploring how to do that for the Premiere challenges as well. So definitely post your work. I'm a king in France. Oh boy. Does that mean I get like a castle and stuff? But thank you, I appreciate the kind words. All right, so what do we have going on today? Well, if we scroll down, we have our first challenge, and today we're going to be designing the sign-in experience for this application. And I guess to spill the beans, over the next 9 challenges, we are going to be designing out a social media focused application. And just like my previous challenge, you can definitely tailor it to your needs. So if you want to do a social media application about designers or burritos or Animal Crossing, all the things I love in life, you can definitely do that. If you want to do it for iOS or Android, completely up to you. All right, so what we're gonna do, we can go ahead and grab the starter file right here, and every single day there will be a new starter file that catches you up from the previous days if you missed a day, which is totally fine, right? I would encourage you to follow along every single day, but I know some of us are quite busy, so you can always catch up if you need to. All right, no sound, oh no. Hopefully you can all hear me. And obviously you probably can't hear me, but press the mute button. It might be muted by default. All right, so I'm gonna hop over to Adobe XD. And here is the template for today. And as I mentioned in the past, Andrea Hawk did create these amazing templates that I've been using. And Iman says, no to the spectacles. I'm sorry. I like them. I think they're kind of fun, and it channels my inner Raymond from Animal Crossing. And she also put together this great component over here with some states so you can get some cool resources. But we want to hop over here, and we are going to explore the sign-in experience. Now, many of this that I'm going to be designing today, you may have seen yesterday. Sometimes I like to hint a few things in the intro stream. So we're going to be doing some fun stuff. And yeah, it looks like the sound is good. Very good. All right. So to start things off, just like we did yesterday, I'm going to grab my rectangle. And I almost always grab a rectangle when I'm starting. Rectangle is just the easiest tool to use, and it's so versatile. And I'm going to draw a nice area across the entire artboard. You can change the color if you want, you can turn off the border if you want, but the reason we're drawing out this rectangle is so we can use it as a mask. So if I hop over to Finder, it's around here somewhere. Here we go. Ooh, here's all the starter files. Nobody saw that. I'm gonna go into my stock folder, and I'm gonna close this, and I'm going to just grab this really bright and colorful image, and I'm going to drag it directly onto the mask. And if you're brand new to Adobe XD, any shape can be used as a mask. Rectangle, ellipse, a custom pin path, anything, which is great. And the benefit of that is it's all contained in that shape. So you can double click, you can adjust it if you need to, you can move it up, you can move it down, and this is just a great looking image, right? Now, of course, as I talked about yesterday, adding elements on top of this, especially text, it may cause some accessibility issues. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the rectangle one more time. I swear everything I do is just with rectangles. I'm going to draw one out just like this. I'm going to round out the corners quite a bit, at least at the top. And at the bottom, I can hold down my Alt-Option key and drag them back. Beautiful. You can turn off the border as well. So we've got this really nice looking shape. And just to kind of, again, pull from yesterday's inspiration, we want to get a little bit fancy with this. So I'm going to turn on background blur. Now, it may not work in every situation depending on the type of and theme of social media application, and obviously this doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by bumping up the amount of blur, then I'm going to bump up the brightness, and then because there's still a little bit of that color coming through, a little bit too much of it, I'm going to bump up the transparency. Not too much, because then it basically looks like what it did before, but I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And you can see, if you look very close, there's a little bit of blue, a little bit of purple kind of popping in, right? And someone's asking, can I select bottom corners together? You can't. That'd be a nice feature though. You can also enter values over in the Properties Inspector right over here. So we've got this nice looking semi-transparent blurred area that we can start adding in some information. So there might be a few things we might want in here. Maybe some text to welcome a user back to this application. So I'm going to grab the text tool right over here, shortcut key T. I'm going to type out, let's say, welcome and then back. Now, there's a lot going on with this text right now. So let's go ahead and mold it to our application. And someone's saying, I love the colors. Thank you. I think the colors are great too. Purples and greens and yellows, just very happy. So for the typeface, Sophia Pro is the one that was automatically set because I use it all the time. You all know that. I'm going to use it again, but not right now. I'm actually going to use Dunbar Tall. I'm going to make sure to left justify it. We'll drop the color somewhere around, somewhere around there, and maybe we'll just bump up the weight. Beautiful. I can also grab this handle right at the bottom and just make it a little bit smaller if I wanted to. So now that we have, let me actually go ahead, just so that this is really official, boop, just add an exclamation mark, right? There we go. Beautiful. Now, if you want to make sure that everything lines up really nicely, you can also drag out guides. So right over here to the left, you can also access it right at the top. you've got this information. You've got this information. I don't know what that word that was. You've got this overlay, and you're able to drag out guides from the left, right? And up at the top, there's contextual information to let you know how far it is. So I can go for it's like 42 pixels, 50 pixels, whatever it might be, whatever your preference is. 42 looks pretty good. We'll start with that. We can always make changes if we want to. Or what's, I don't know, let's go for 60. Is that too much? I don't know. We'll see. And you can also drag one out on the other side as well. And you can see it's really nicely giving me that information. Beautiful. All right. Now, what else do we need on this specific screen? Well, we need a place for users to enter their email address. We need a password, a sign-in button, and for that, we're going to be using components, which is the focus of this particular challenge. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the button at the bottom. I'm going to grab the rectangle one more time. I'm going to make sure to draw one out just like that. It's going to snap beautifully to my guides. And I'm going to round this out. I'm not going to round it out completely. I'm just going to round it out a little bit, somewhere right about there. Now, the button in the back, there's actually going to be two shapes that make up this button. This one here is going to be a little bit of a pink. It's going to be a solid filled in pink. So let's go ahead and choose something like this. I'm going to bring out some of the saturation just a little bit, maybe bump this up a touch. And now we have this really cool looking button right here. But to give it a little bit more style, we may want to, does it have to be multiples? It doesn't have to be multiples of 8, Annie. It could be, it makes it a little bit easier. There's a whole debate on the whole 8 pixel grid. Makes it a little bit easier for developers to work with, but doesn't have to be. So to give this button a little bit of style, we're actually going to add an additional, additional layer to it. So I'm going to duplicate it, Command and Control D, boop, just like that. Now you probably can't see a difference, but there is another shape over there. Now what I'm going to do for this one, I'm going to turn off the fill and only add a border to this. Now probably doesn't make much sense right now because it looks like I could have just added a border to the original shape. But let's go ahead and, I'm losing my voice by the way. Let's go ahead and add, let's say a border that looks like this. I'm going to increase the size quite a bit, just like that, right? And now I might want to grab maybe the shape in the background, or I can just do this. I can move this inwards a little bit, right? Move this up, and then grab the shape and just move this down a touch, just like that. So we have this kind of cool looking 3-dimensional button that we're going to be using for this sign-in experience. It's kind of fun, isn't it? I think so. Now, in the center of this, we obviously need some sort of a call to action. So I'm going to grab my text tool one more time, type out the word sign in, make it quite a bit smaller. And because it's a little bit smaller, it's not necessarily our header text, which we used Dunbar tall for. We can go back and we can now assign a text that we're going to be using throughout the application when it's not a header. And in that case, you know me, Sophia Pro. It's just a fantastic typeface. And I'm going to change the color to white. I'm going to make sure to center it and pop it right in the center of this button. Now, what I might also want to do is make sure that everything is grouped. So I'm going to select the top layer, which I'm going to just call border, and I'm going to call this fill. And I'm going to select both of these and just put them into a group. And I can just name this button. And I can also turn this entire thing into a component because I may want to use it later on. I may want to activate content aware layout. There may be a lot of things I might want to do with this. So what I'm going to do, yeah, Cornell's saying Sophia Pro looks so smooth. It does look smooth. It's a great typeface. I'm going to select both of these layers and I'm going to turn it into a component. You can do that in a variety of ways, including inside of your assets panel. And looks like I already have some in here. I'm going to just delete these from the previous challenge. And I'm going to press the plus button right beside component. And I can go ahead and name this button. And now I have a great looking button that I can use throughout my document, throughout my artboards. I can keep them all up to date, and we're going to learn more about components as we go on. But let's go ahead and create a few more components. Maybe up here we want an email address field and a password field. So for that, let's start with a line, a very simple line, not a rectangle this time. Of course, you could do it with a rectangle. I'm going to draw one out just like that. And I may want to also bring in the pink that I've been using. So what I can do to very easily add those to my assets, I have the button selected. I'm simply going to press the plus button. It's going to grab all the colors that make up that button and very easily add them to the assets. And now that I have this line, I can right click on any of those colors and apply it as a border. Now, of course, I'm going to go ahead and bump this up because we need it to be kind of nice and thick so you can notice it. Now, maybe just to kind of pull in some inspiration and the style from this button, maybe we'll want 2 different parts to this line. Yeah, 3D button. Isn't that cool, Richard? So we've got this one line selected. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate it just like I did before. We're going to do the exact same process. Duplicate it, Command and Control D. Now we have 2 lines. And I can go ahead and apply the exact same color right here, right? So I'm going to pop that one there. And maybe I'll just make this one a little bit smaller on this side. And I'll make this one a little bit smaller on this side. And now we have a fun style going on that we can use throughout our application. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Now, right above this, we want some text, kind of like a placeholder. So I'm going to press the T key for my text tool, and let's go ahead and type out email address. Now, obviously, white probably isn't going to pass accessibility for this, so we can go ahead and sample our pink. We can go ahead and shrink this down quite a bit. And because this isn't necessarily a call to action, I can drop this to about medium or regular, something to that extent. I'm going to bump up the size just a little bit more. And I can zoom out to see what it's looking like. It looks a little bit too small. So bump it up to about 16. And if you really want to make sure that things are looking pretty good, if you press the play button at the top, you'll be able to launch the preview. It's still looking a little bit small. I can actually put the preview here and continue editing, and it's going to automatically update on my preview, which looks pretty good, right? And maybe I'll also drop the opacity a little bit just so users know that this is a text field that they can tap into and continue, typing away. All right, now I'm purposely leaving an area over here blank because we may want an icon, and we're going to get more into icons in a little bit and plugins. But just to grab an icon very quickly, we can head into the plugins panel down at the bottom, and I do have the Icons for Design plugin installed, and that will allow me to, I can type out email, see if there's anything decent in there. Not too bad. What about envelope? There we go. That looks like a pretty good one from Awesome. The Awesome, why did you just put it all the way up there? I'm going to copy it. Where did you go? All right, I'm going to hop back over here. I'm just going to paste it in this area, make this a little bit smaller. I can also go ahead and apply the pink, or the light pink or the dark pink, or I can just make a new one if I wanted to. And just make sure everything looks pretty good. My smart guides are helping me line things up. There we go. Beautiful. Maybe I'll offset that just a little bit. And now we have our first field, right? Now, just like we did with the button, we may want to turn this into a component so we can, again, use it throughout our artboards, override it, and then keep everything up to date. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, in my layers panel, I'm going to select all the elements that make up this sign-in or this email field. And I'm going to Command and Control K, or I can right click and make component. There we go. And now we have a component here. And I can just name this text field. Now, very easily, because we want an additional one, we can duplicate this downwards just like that, right? And now we have 2 text fields. Now we can go ahead, we can go ahead, I'm going to make sure this is left justified, and we can start making overrides. I'm going to name this password just like that. It's off by 1 pixel. Oh no, that's okay. I trust all of you to make sure all of your designs are pixel perfect. Now, the nice thing about components is even though you can override text, you can also override just about anything, honestly. So I can hop back into my plugins, and let's go ahead and type out, let's say lock, for example. Let's see. We need a lock icon. Maybe that one looks pretty good from Awesome. Not too bad. We've got some material icons down here. Yeah, I think the Awesome icon will look pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and shrink that, and I'm still inside of that instance of the component. So I can just make some changes just like this, right? I can select the envelope in the background, delete it, and it still remains linked back to that master component. So in the instance, very funny pun about components. In the instance that you need to update the styling across all of your instances of the master component, you can very easily do so. So as I'm moving this around, it's changing across all of them. Or if I wanted to change the length of some of these lines, you can very easily do that, right? And all of that remains linked, which is super cool. So we've got our email address, we've got our password, and maybe just to, add one more element to this, maybe I'll just type out, let's say I. There we go. First time watching me live from Morocco. Awesome, I love that. Let's go ahead and grab, let's say this I here. This a bunch of them look pretty good. This one, okay, we'll stick with the awesome library. We'll kind of drop this a little bit. We'll move this over to the side, right? And maybe we will set this color. Maybe just so it's not super in our face, we might just want to drop the opacity a little bit. Now if we take a look at what we're working with, we've got a pretty good looking design coming along. Might make some changes here and there, but things are coming along pretty nicely. And again, because we're using components, all of this remains linked, which is great. Now finally, this is definitely focused on signing into this application, but maybe a new user might be arriving and they might want to sign up. So we're going to make some secondary information. I'm going to grab a rectangle, draw one out closer to the bottom, right about here. And maybe for the color, we'll just, again, because this is secondary, we'll drop this to sort of like a light gray. And if you want to get really fancy, you can add another background blur to this, but we're going to stick with that. And let's go ahead and type out sign up. And maybe let's try the Dunbar text typeface one more time. Let's go for a darker color. And we will go for, do you want to maybe medium? Maybe even bold, possibly. That's not bad. All right, we'll try that. We're going to make this a little bit larger. Make sure it's centered. You can also use your distribution options and alignment options at the top right hand corner. You can just press this icon right here to make sure it's centered in the middle of your artboard. Now, if you are designing for an iPhone 10 or 10 Plus or 11 or any one of those newer iPhones, you have to keep in mind that there is a home indicator right at the bottom of your display that you cannot put elements behind it, especially ones that you're going to interact with. So, make sure there's a little bit of breathing room down at the bottom, and that's looking pretty good. And now we can start kind of making some tweaks, making sure all these elements line up really nicely, just like that. And I think that's looking pretty good. Let's take a look. Very quick look. All right, I'm kind of digging it, right? Yeah, and Cornell just pointed out, don't forget to keep some space at the bottom for the iPhone's navigation. And the same thing goes for the top. There is a notch. Good old notch, we all love it, right? And you'll see in future challenges, we'll definitely pay attention to that and make sure nothing is up there being, obscured. You can make some quick changes to this, pull that in a little bit. And if you want to get a little bit, fancier, you can also turn on padding right over here to the right. Turn that on, it's going to activate content-aware layout. That way you can dive in here to your button, and as you type out, that button is automatically going to resize. Now, of course, in this particular instance, we purposely made it so that the button is aligned with the guides that we dragged out. So in that case, you probably wouldn't want content-aware layout turned on, but we will definitely cover content-aware layout in this challenge, so stay tuned for that. All right. So we've got our components, which we can now obviously use throughout our artboards. We can make some changes. We've got our sign up button at the bottom if someone wanted to. And as you're designing this, I would encourage you to explore what else a sign-in experience could have. What would happen if someone presses on sign up? Maybe all of this section kind of goes up just like this so that, more text fields can show. I'll leave it all up to you. I kind of plant the seed and you all take it from there. So that's looking pretty good. And once you're all ready to go, definitely hop into Discord, into the current challenge channel. Post your work here. Looks like some people are already posting some additional stuff. If you do have questions about the challenge, you can definitely throw it in there. But that's just about going to do it. Hope you all enjoyed this short little daily challenge. I'm going to be back tomorrow, as always, kicking off day number 2. And we will continue to build out this amazing social media application and start thinking of some fun things you can do. Again, whether it's burritos or Animal Crossing, design, whatever it might be. Theme it to what you like. And if you are sticking around, Alice is coming up in just a few minutes with some design. Is it called design therapy? Let me just double check. doodle therapy. That's even cooler. Doodle therapy. She's going to be designing and drawing out some really cool stuff, so stick around for that. I'm going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place, and I'll see you all then.